TPR.
बस यार क्या करें चलो ठीक है गायब बट खैर म्यूजिक के बारे में बात करते हैं हम कभी कभार so this is first of all, well, I was going to say happy new year, but we've already done an episode this month, so take that back.
TPR has
Happy rest of the year.
मैंने और आपने कब किया?
No, haven't we done the December episode in didn't that come out in January, or has
Did it come out
did
in
it come out
January?
in December?
I don't know. We recorded in January, in December, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Acha.
Yeah. Happy New Year, title wise, but not. We've already spoken, so free now. But yeah, there's a new playlist out. Hope by the time you hear this, see this, and बहुत सारे गाने आ गए हैं उसमें. And as always, we have thoughts. I'm giving this intro as if this is the first time this episode is happening.
भाई
But
इसका
usually
मतलब है कि
we
आपको
just
कोई
fall
उम्मीद
into
है
it.
कि कोई नए लोग आए होंगे, वो देखेंगे. People will start here.
Yeah,
This is a growth
yeah.
mindset. Ali, I thought you were a good corporate worker.
Growth mindset. हाँ. तुम्हारे यहाँ agile होता है, all this like scrum
हमारे यहाँ इतना
and
agile होता है कि
stretch
मैं
and
जिंदगी में एक दिन में 3 स्क्रमों में जा रहा था. You know, इतना
wow.
agile के बस कोई काम ही ना हो.
Yeah. Yeah. I find though, khair, songs we have, before we get sidetracked, let's do the kaam ki baatein first. Acha, we also wanted to talk about one thing that I remembered before we talk about the actual playlist, was we wanted to talk about the 2023 summarization, where you and two of the Hamnawa folks, they did their end of year top 5. तो मैं जरा वो भी खोल लेता हूँ अब जो हम यहाँ आए हुए हैं. This profile does not have Hamnawa in the early searches.
Wow.
अच्छा ये मेरी दूसरी वो है.
You are being judged
मैं
live on
Hamnawa
camera.
yeah, this is not the TPR वाली प्रोफाइल है जिससे मैं वो करता हूँ, जो मैंने खोली हुई है. तो मैंने HAMN डाल दिया, पता नहीं क्या ये कौन है, डिलीट तो नहीं हो गई. खैर, तो before we begin, we have talking about the January playlist, we have 3 picks. So what was your why did you want to do this? Like, now that you have 2 people, which is already a change from Hamnoa in the past, where you have guest contributors, etc. So why did you think that it would be beneficial, important, useful to have them say, "Haan ji, pick 5 songs"?
This was Shamir's idea. It was a great idea in the sense.
Okay.
पहले ये किया था कि I think last year I put together like one best of playlist,
Yeah,
and the year
yeah,
before.
yeah.
But this year it felt nice to do lists from different people's perspectives, because I think that gives you a
Sure.
better way of getting into it. Like, as you can see, there's 3 very different taste profiles in there.
Very
बिल्कुल
different. Yeah.
different तरह की music है, different तरह की writing है. I think it also helps to read it. Like, if I sent you a list of 50 songs and what I think about all of them, like क्या करेंगे आप उसके साथ, सिवाय अगर आप PhD student हो. तो the goal was to expand our audience beyond PhD students into normal people.
Speaking of, do you feel the audiences are different? Like people who perhaps just subscribe to the playlist and perhaps the Instagram, versus people who listen to the podcast, versus people who read. Like, do you feel there's like different types of people who do this, or is it the same people doing everything? Super fans.
I think it's probably everyone does some subsection of it. So reading wise, जो email list पढ़ते हैं, I think most people do it like in batches, from what I understand, कि 4-5 आ जाते हैं तो वो 4-5 एक साल पढ़ लेते हैं. Instagram पे I think most of the artists follow it on Instagram. Like, they don't read it over email, which is somehow unsurprising that musicians do not consider email the place they want to be to getting their entertainment. So podcast, I think, is, at least from my side, is more of a subset. वो super fan वाला level है. Like, people who are either following on one of the other 2 places will do it. I think your audience will be probably the wider group for me.
Yeah, more generalist type. Okay. Because I was wondering, क्योंकि it's वो होता है ना कि the medium can cause the type of person to be really different, even if it's all the same. Like, if we're talking about the same songs but अलग अलग जगहों पे, I think about this in terms of how people say when they post on TikTok versus when they post on Reels. The same thing can have very different reactions or responses because that's just the nature of the thing. So, yeah. So Shamir, who is Shamir, by the way? How did you find him?
Shamir found us uh,
How do you find you?
just through Hamnawa. And then turns out we had lots of
Acha,
mutual connections after, but Shamir did not let them on before he found me. But Shamir
acha,
came
acha,
in
acha.
wanting to uh, write some pieces, and so we bonded over the analytics side of it. But then he wrote a big piece for us on Bollywood and Lollywood sampling in Western hip hop.
Right.
तो वो फिर उसके
Yeah,
बाद
I
अंदाज़ा हो
remember.
गया
Yeah.
कि शामिर को मेरे से बहुत ज़्यादा पता है ज़िंदगी के बारे में. So I was like, Shamir, let's do it.
Yeah,
So no, we're
yeah,
lucky to have him.
yeah.
Actually, what happens most of the way that we found our contributors is people that either used to read Hamnawa or found Hamnawa and wanted to write for it and just emailed me.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's how we found most of our people. People write something, we edit, we publish. If it goes well, eventually, like people either join the
Yeah.
staff in some sort of capacity or keep writing in a guest capacity. So it's very open. So to all
Huh.
young writers that want to just hone their craft, they are welcome to join us.
The so I'll summarize the three selections in a way in like their approach, which is very different. Uh, Shamir's thing is there's a वो क्या नाम है statement to it कि लोग कहते हैं कि गाने अब innovative नहीं आते. Say everyone music is so boring. You तो I will find 5 super different गाने which prove innovation क्या होती है. And prove that innovation is active in the Pakistani music scene. Leila just committed hard because she's like all songs from Natasha Nurani ki album from the year and also in the order that they are in the album. So yeah, Shamir had the mission. Leila has gone very evil, and then you did something which is क्या कहेंगे almost like a moral angle कि यार ये अच्छे लोग हैं और इनको सुनना चाहिए. तो ये मेरी नज़र में दिस इज इम्पोर्टेंट कि ये इन लोगों को डालना चाहिए. आप प्लीज सुने. तो आई
शैतान
थिंक दैट्स
कहेगा आपको
आल्सो
कि नहीं सुने.
शैतान आपको सुनने से रोकेगा. हाँ. Yeah, so it's interesting. I don't know if you have, there is overlap in that two people have Natasha Nurani.
Mhm.
There was a chance, I think Kali Raat, you have Kali Raat and Shamir has another song. Shamir has Rangkeen. Okay. So Talal Qureshi on two, Manu, तुम्हारा ये है कि
मानू का एक है, फॉर
Manu
यू
से
है,
Jani.
जानी है. हाँ.
You have like both of you and Shamir have Manu Talal Qureshi. He has Bilal Bloch, um, but you have Jani, who we've talked about so many times. But yeah, interesting. आप लोग जाएं, viewers, listeners,
मैंने कहा
people
इतनी
present.
जल्दी पॉडकास्ट खत्म हो गया, आप लोग जाएं. ओके,
हाँ.
गुड बाय. Glad you enjoyed this episode.
No, please आप जाएं चेक करें and
फिर वापस आइएगा.
like करना ना
हाँ.
भूलिएगा. Yeah. After, pull over in your cars, as they say on the Vergecast. But then there's the January playlist. The January playlist again, already. Are these songs? I always ask this: are they new? Are they like December, January releases,
Mix.
or are they
Mostly January, December
mix?
releases. A few that were released earlier last year, but I have just found them. So I think there's like a
Yeah.
few October releases in there that are pulled in.
Huh.
But mostly new things.
It is a constant source of like surprise, even though अब आदत होना चाहिए कि हर महीने like the frequency of releases is so high कि हर महीने 25-30 की playlist बन जाती है जिसमें से the majority is like new recent
है ना?
songs.
एक कमाल बात है
And
वैसे. New recent songs and
yeah,
people that we have also not heard of before. Like हर playlist में
उसमें नए लोग भी आ
2-3
रहे हैं.
लोग तो होते हैं
हाँ.
जिनको मैंने पहले कभी नहीं देखा.
Yeah, I don't know, and it's like even चलो नया बंदा आ गया, हमें नहीं पता था, हमने डाल दिया, हमने यानी कि तुमने. अगर पुराने लोग भी हैं, that is even more surprising कि भाई यार अभी तो आप थे, आपके एक और गाना आ गया. मतलब हम people are putting out more songs, more people are putting out songs. We talk about this. I feel as I'm saying this, I feel like ये हम हमेशा बात करते हैं.
All the big
But
artists, I did some
it's
math
good.
on this, are doing like 8 to 10 songs a year.
अच्छा.
तो मानू, हसन, अभी हन्नान भी शायद
Right,
ऑलमोस्ट इस
right.
हम हन्नान कहता है in the interview I did with Hanan, he was like, मेरी discography तो बहुत छोटी
हाँ
सी है, चुन्नी मुन्नी सी देखें बाकियों को, मतलब वो खुद भी उतने ही गाने निकाल रहा है. So there is also this sense के साल में 8-10 गाने तो बनते हैं निकालने के, which becomes on average it's
हाँ
close to one a month. So if we're making 12
राइट
playlists a
राइट
year, the big artists, if they're putting out good songs, will be on every one of those playlists. This is not a
या
level of output that we have seen before. मैं कुछ अपने यहाँ दोस्तों को ना
इन पाकिस्तान
इन
एटलीस्ट
पाकिस्तान, हाँ, मैं
हाँ
यहाँ पे कुछ लोगों को गाने सुना रहा था, देयर लाइक सब कुछ एक जैसा लग रहा है कुछ, यू नो, बिकॉज़ दे हैड नॉट फॉलोड दिस न्यू ट्रेंड, दिस न्यू ट्रेंड पोस्ट 2020 म्यूजिक, सो देयर लाइक काफी मिलता-जुलता है. आई वाज लाइक, या यू आर लिसनिंग टू अ 2 year टाइम फ्रेम of all this music. They're like, but वो strings वगैरह के ज़माने में सब कुछ different होता था. And I was like, yeah, they released one new album every 5 years. So उनका there is a
राइट
bigger transition there than with these artists where it's much
हाँ
more gradual. तो आपको, if you're new to it, it may appear that things aren't changing very much, but then when you realize how quickly they are releasing stuff, it's really
या
quite incredible.
या
This is वो Beatles level releasing है ये, कि वो लोग करते थे एक album एक साल की.
परहैप्स हाँ
Um,
do you feel they make गाने एक एक करके also or do you feel like they stack them and then release them एक एक करके
Depends, I think. Depends on everyone's creative production style. मतलब हो सकता है कि जैसे आप किसी प्रोड्यूसर के साथ काम कर रहे हैं, जैसे उमैर बता रहा था कि वो अंजुम को बीट्स भेजता है 4-4 5-5 हफ्ते के. हो सकता है आप 3-4,
I saw that video
हाँ,
by the way it was
इट्स
great
ग्रेट राइट, या हो
yeah
सकता है कि
yeah
आपने 5-6 गाने एक साथ बना दिए हों, and then you can
हाँ
decide कि I will dole them out if they're different enough, or I will release them all in one go if you want to do an album. So I feel like it's a mix, one of how
yeah
you are coming up with them, and another of um, एट व्हाट पॉइंट लाइक वहाँ पे रिलीज इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कैसे चल रहा है. मतलब समझो कि हो सकता है कि कोई बड़ा टीवी शो आ रहा हो. वो टीवी शो आ रहा है तो आप कहते हैं अच्छा मैं इस वक्त एल्बम ना निकालूं तो बेहतर है, बिकॉज आई हैव मोर ऑफ एन ऑडियंस आफ्टर द टीवी शो than before. So maybe you stagger your releases that way, or the things are very different, or you're working with 4 different producers and you have 4 different sounds. And so instead of releasing them all together, you do एक बैच
you space
और
them
फिर
out a bit
दूसरा बैच
yeah
बाद में करते हैं when it makes more sense. So I
yeah
feel
yeah
there's a lot of variety, but the core of it is
Hmm.
that people are making music really fast. Like
yeah
there's a
yeah
change
like
now.
people are yeah and I feel like it's not even I was gonna say people are doing it full time but I'm sure most people are not doing it full time still Pakistan में लेकिन आउटपुट से तो यही लग रहा है कि they could might as well be doing it full time कि गाने पे गाना आए जा रहा है आए जा
और
रहा है
speed बहुत बढ़ गई है.
hmm
Like the fact that you can do like a full song
yeah
on a laptop, that's really changed the speed. People are writing really fast. Video production with new tools has become really fast. People are also just better at it than before.
yes
And there's a lot
yes
more people that are good enough at it to be part of the scene. पहले जो आपके 4-5-6
hmm
म्यूजिक वीडियो डायरेक्टर्स थे, अब ये कि आपने you can make all the way from a phone video to a DSLR video, but वो DSLR चलाने वाले भी बहुत ज़्यादा लोग हैं. So
yeah
there is
yeah
a bigger mix of people trying a different variety of styles, and speed is a core component of all of them. मतलब बहुत कम अब बगैर speed के, like the big artists now are all releasing stuff fast. I think Atif is probably like the
yeah
biggest artist that is doing like not 8 songs a year, but even he is fairly prolific.
हाँ Atif is way more prolific than he traditionally might have been. पहले तो खैर ये था ना कि एल्बम आएगी
Hmm.
अच्छा जी अब एक साल 2 साल हो गए अब एक और एल्बम आएगी या फिर बीच में किसी फिल्म के साथ गाना कर लिया बट ही इज ऑल्सो गॉन इन टू दिस seemingly decentralized model के singles आएंगे और not as quickly as perhaps ये newer artists but regularly साल में 2-3 तो आ ही जाएंगे where the person stays relevant and we've talked about the assumed economics and the importance of releasing and frequency and staying relevant or how that all ties together but then फिर मैंने आपको भेजे थे कुछ गाने और उन पे कुछ तासुरात. Let's start with the weirdest one. By weird I mean this in a good way. There's an artist called Sheherazaad whose song is Mashoor. अच्छा मेरे ना यहाँ एक focus group है of 2 people who listen to
It's a really focused group.
normal गाने. हाँ myopic almost वो they listen to normal traditional boys हैं मतलब they're not really into मतलब वो शमून पसंद है उनको और चलो मानो भी पसंद आ जाएगा but अच्छा they're not from well one of them is from Karachi but they're not like huge into stunners या इस तरह का more harder stuff ना और ज़रा इश्किया लिरिक्स आ जाएं ज़रा मीठी सी उर्दू में तो वो बड़े appreciate होते हैं
Okay,
so
so
that'll come
और
back into
fans हैं.
yes
Mhm.
exactly तो उनके ऊपर ना मैं व्हेनेवर वी गो आउट लाइक हफ्ते में 1-2 दफ़ा वो हो जाती है मुलाकात, तो फिर हम 3 30s मेल पाकिस्तानी जो हैं, जब हम तंग आ जाते हैं पाकिस्तान की पॉलिटिक्स के ऊपर अफ़सोस करके, तो फिर हम घर की तरफ जाते हैं। तो उसमें फिर उसकी गाड़ी में ना मेरा ब्लूटूथ कनेक्टेड है। तो जैसे ही मैं बैठता हूँ वो खो जाता है। एंड आई डू द थिंग वेयर आई टेक ओवर, और मैं उनको हमनवा की ना वो भेजता हूँ। क्या नाम है?
I just spilled water on
अ,
myself on camera. This is good.
या
I just missed my mouth. This is a thing I do if you know me as a person, but
या
clearly now I've done it for the world to see. Uh,
आई मीन 2024 में न्यू ईयर न्यू मी। तो उनको मैंने ये सुनाया मशहूर, बिकॉज़ द थिंग दैट आई सेंट टू यू अबाउट द सॉन्ग वाज़ दैट इट इज़ uh it seems fully out of place with like what we consider to be regular pop music Pakistan में, कि rap है, ये है, वो है, अलग अलग genres हैं. This is like almost like this atmospheric, फिर थोड़ा mystic. You could accuse this of being like Sufi adjacent type जो बीच में एक ज़माने में गाने आते थे, but I feel like it is not. I feel like the production makes it seem that way. But कल जब मैंने फिर गाड़ी में ज़रा गौर से सिंगिंग को सुना, तो I wasn't as sure as on the first few listens कि the singing is like actual, perhaps super Eastern classical trained. Maybe it's trained, but not perhaps necessarily that way. But the vibe, all of the things, layers come together to make it seem that way. So they appreciated the attempt again, because they were, they listened to a very normie sort of music scene, but uh, ज़्यादा समझ नहीं आया, which was my intention to see कि हाँ जी कैसा लगता है आप लोगों को. I thought it was really great, और मेरे दिमाग में तो फॉरेन फिल्म OST जो है वो उसमें ये potential था इस गाने का. But I've never heard of this artist before. Has I'm assuming it's a she. Have they featured on Hamnawa before?
I don't think so. Just
Okay.
found them, and I feel that they don't
Okay,
have
okay.
that much music out. So that's my.
क्लिक कर लिया हमने और एक ही
Uh,
गाना है. या
um, it's hard to describe. I think the closest analog is Aruj Aftab, but it's very different.
यस
It's not the same.
यस
Um,
हाँ
it's closest analog. मतलब एक तो obvious वाले uh, वो हैं comparisons के female singer singing on top of what appears to be Western instrumentation in this kind of syncopated way. मतलब ये कि पूरा जैसे क्लासिकल म्यूजिक में या पॉप म्यूजिक में ऐसे होता है कि आप एक पूरा मेलोडी गाते हैं जिसको आप हम कर सकते हैं. ये उस तरह से नहीं है, ये बीच-बीच
या
में रुकती है. इसमें थोड़े-थोड़े
या
फ़िक्रे आते हैं, फिर
यस
रुक जाती है, फिर थोड़ा फ़िक्रा आता है,
या
फिर थोड़ा रुक जाता है. So I was thinking of Ali
या
Sethi also because Ali Sethi does a lot of like Western experimental music underneath with the classical singing on top.
या
But Ali Sethi, I think, usually
या
sings in a much more melodic fashion. This is less so.
एक्सेसिबल
हाँ,
आल्सो हाँ
तो इसमें
हाँ
I think that makes it harder to get into. So the accessibility is lower.
यस यस
मगर it's still relatable in a way. Like if you are going in there knowing that you're listening to something experimental, you're like it doesn't go anywhere that shocks you. It's
या
you understand it. So from an experimental standpoint, I really liked it. But I don't know how to describe it from a genre standpoint. You're right. It's not fully Eastern singing. It's not like a kind of very clear Western genre, but it's
हाँ.
very much experimental.
Does Spotify assign report share? No, Spotify पे genre listen नहीं आता. The playlist that Sheherazaad has posted on their thing, Mashoor, it has like Arundhati Roy, Feroz, yeah, Aruj Aftab है इसमें, Riz Ahmed. So hmm, some seemingly Turkish names.
It's in a way Desi diaspora avant-garde.
I was
Huh?
gonna say I was considering diaspora kahe na kahe, but yeah, I think it has to be that's what you would
And
call it, because it's
I
not
don't mean diaspora
Pakistani.
in any way beyond that it happens to be conducted by Desi people that are living abroad. मतलब मुझे
वही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ, क्योंकि अगर ये पाकिस्तानी होता ना, तो it wouldn't be this varied, because this is all over the world. The people in this playlist, uh, which I think is a very diaspora sort of thing to do, where you are, because you are not in Pakistan, you are able to connect with a lot of different cultures just as easily as perhaps your own, because you're not growing up surrounded by Pakistan. Foreign मैंने सबको दे दिया मैंने qualification कैसी होता है, but like I feel like the people, because I grew up in Pakistan, outside of Pakistan सब कुछ, तो पाकिस्तान से बाहर तो आप देसी थे, you weren't necessarily Pakistani unless your parents were that type of people. तो वो इंडियंस भी हैं, अरबी भी दोस्त हैं, ये भी है, वो दुबई में if you grow up like I did. um, so then had I grown further, I would have made this sort of playlist where चलो Turkish ना होते but Indian होते हैं, Pakistani होते हैं, Arabi artists होते हैं, that sort of thing, which this like वो जो vibe होती है ना अमेरिका में, like when you go to the Islamic Center नमाज वमाज के लिए, and it's not just Pakistanis, and your picture of that masjid experience is that diaspora experience of very like mixed uh, kaleidoscope का word भी डाल दें आप इसके अंदर. पाकिस्तान में ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं
मेल्टिंग
होता,
पॉट कहना मत
you know.
भूलिएगा.
मेल्टिंग पॉट बहुत ज़रूरी. तो पाकिस्तान में ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं होता, because पाकिस्तान में is very homogeneous. So this playlist is not homogeneous, which makes me think likelier to be a diaspora artist.
There's a logic for that also, which is that if you are practicing this sort of Eastern influence music in the West, chances are that you are playing with people that have other influences. So Ali Sethi plays with
Sure.
a
Yeah.
American band, as far as I know. Some of those band members are shared with Slow Spin. Aruj Aftab plays with people of
अच्छा.
Indian descent, but
Right.
plays with other people as
And
well.
Uruj Aftab took she took her talents to Berkeley. And Berkeley में तो फिर देसी थोड़ी हैं सारे, let alone only Pakistanis.
बिल्कुल
So
different
the
है.
music that came after
And then
was very mixed.
And Aruj Aftab plays with Anushka Shankar, who is daughter of Ravi Shankar, who played with God knows
Cousin
how
of Nora
many.
Jones,
Yeah.
step sister, not cousin.
So itna, I think that level of influences changes how you operate. Also, if you're operating outside of a Pakistani environment or outside of a Desi environment where those legacy practitioners don't exist, then you are more easily able to
Yeah.
break the rules and break the boundaries a little bit.
Yes.
Which is why
Yes.
for a lot
हाँ.
of people in Pakistan and that are not used to Aruj Aftab style of music, to them it sounds a little bit dissonant. मतलब वो
Yeah.
नहीं समझ पाते कि it feels off.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
just a different style. So I think that's one of those
Huh.
things where it's probably easier to pursue that sort of style outside the bounds of the system than from inside.
Yeah. जो नॉर्मी दोस्त है ना मेरे, जिनको आई एक्यूज ऑफ बीइंग नॉर्मी, उनमें से एक बॉय जो है ना, वो पाकिस्तान से निकल के उसका आर्टिस्टिक टेस्ट जो है ना वो फुल हिपस्टर हो गया है. मैं उसका मजाक उड़ाता हूँ कि ही विल नॉट वॉच अ मूवी जिसका 1 मिलियन से ज़्यादा बजट हो, जिसमें कोई बहुत ही दुख दर्द की बातें ना हो. आइडियल बात ये होगी इंग्लिश में ही ना हो फिल्म, इस तरह
हम
की
सब
से
इस
ना
तरह के एक दोस्त को
गाने
जानते
भी
हैं.
सुने. या एंड फ्रेंच बैंड आई यार, मैं जा रहा हूँ यार, वो आए हुए थे पता नहीं एलियन फ्रॉम से, दैट्स नॉट द नेम ऑफ बैंड. गया था, अच्छा था, बहुत जबरदस्त. वो क्या नाम है, सब नॉर्वेजियन देसी बैंड
ये
जिसमें ये
जरूर ईरानी
वो
फिल्में
बॉयज
देखते
हैं
होंगे
क्विक स्टाइल
सबटाइटल्स
वाले.
के साथ.
हाँ 100%. और our film, and every time I talked, it's like the
और ये
saddest
कभी
story
नेटफ्लिक्स पे
you've ever.
डबिंग के साथ नहीं देखते होंगे फॉरेन शो.
नहीं, of course. तो पाकिस्तानी म्यूजिक में ना, लेकिन या ये क्या सिंपल उर्दू वाले सिकंदर का मंदिर बिल्कुल समझ नहीं आया इनको कि ये क्या बात है यार, मतलब ये तो ये इसको यहाँ से राइम कर दिया, तो उसमें फुल ट्रेडिशनलिस्ट माइंडसेट. सो द अरूज आफ्ताब थिंग दैट यू मेंशन टू मी, सेम अप्लाइज हियर बिल्कुल, कि इफ शी इज सिंगिंग दैट क्लोज टू ईस्टर्न पाकिस्तानी व्हाटएवर देसी स्टाइल्स, तो व्हाई इज इट नॉट ऑल द वे देयर.
आई थिंक द
ये
इम्पल्स
मिक्स
देयर आल्सो इज कि अगर कोई पाकिस्तान से आ रहा है तो आप फुली रिप्रेजेंट क्यों नहीं कर रहे उस कल्चर को. मतलब
या
आप क्यों आगे
या
लेके जा रहे हैं, स्पेशली इफ देयर इज एन ओवर्ट सेंस ऑफ सिंप्लीफिकेशन. तो जैसे सिकंदर का मंदिर टाइप या कोई थोड़े इंडी बैंड जो आए थे जिनके लिरिक्स बड़े सिंपल किस्म के थे, दिस लाइक द पंक रॉक
या
ऑफ
या
ऑफ द सीन ना, कि मतलब जो
हाँ
prog रॉकर्स थे वो पंक रॉक को देखते हैं क्या कर रहे हैं यार, आप इतना कुछ हमने मेहनत कर दी थी, आप वापस ले आए 3 कॉर्ड पे 2 गिटार पे, मतलब वो है ना
Yeah.
उससे वाली बात. But
Exactly.
I think there
Yeah.
is a sense that Pakistani artists should represent the culture in a fuller way, right?
हाँ, the should.
हाँ.
हाँ.
तो उस पे फिर स्पेशली इफ यू आर इन दिस वेरी इंटरनेशनल सिचुएशन एंड देन यू आर ट्राइंग टू से अच्छा ये मेरा कल्चर है, दिस डज नॉट सर्व दैट पर्पस बिकॉज द कल्चर इज चेंजिंग फ्रॉम
Yeah.
अंडरनीथ यू, एंड सो दैट कैन बी अ
Yes.
लिटिल बिट अपसेटिंग समटाइम्स. दिस इज द स्टेरियोटाइप ऑफ
हाँ.
डियास्पोरा कि वो अपनी दुनिया जब वो छोड़ के जाते हैं तो वो उस दुनिया में फंसे रहते हैं और वो दुनिया उनके नीचे से जाती
That
रहती है.
snapshot goes
हाँ,
with them.
और वो
Yeah.
स्नैपशॉट असल जगह से जाया जा रहा है लेकिन उनके ज़हन में
Yeah,
है अभी तक,
yeah,
and that creates this
yeah.
tension. Um,
Huh,
and I
huh.
think it becomes somehow
Yeah, this is
more
a big thing.
prominent if you are into progressive output from other cultures, because it makes it feel like your culture needs to be even more in that discussion, but your vision of the culture has remained
Yeah.
static while the culture itself is changing.
That thing, yeah, yeah. Culture, your vision of the culture is static, whereas inherently culture has never been static. Well, the rate of change varies from time to time depending on the inputs and outputs. लेकिन हाँ लोगों को लगता है कि ये this guy is like couple years younger than me. तो but उसके दिमाग में पाकिस्तानी म्यूजिक शमून इज फाइन शमून क्योंकि वो एक बॉयज वाली वो आई गेस वो हिट हिट करता है तो वो सही है
ये भी है ना, I think guys
बट
get a lot more flexibility than women do.
yeah a theme we have discussed in many different aspects
Yeah.
when it comes to music and Pakistan in
Yeah,
general.
there's a lot
um
more uh, audience palatability for
yeah
experimentation from men than there is from women, which is a reason that you see more dimensions in male artists than you do in female artists. It's one of the many reasons. That's my
I
argument of it.
suppose what bro, two men on a podcast have never been wrong about this, but but it's sort of that thing, na, where men can be seen in so many different ways in Pakistani society, perhaps because of the more available freedoms. तो उनके फिर output भी अगर अलग अलग हों, तो you're more, accepting कि हाँ ये भी हो सकता है. Whereas, you know, analogy है, I don't know, leave us a review.
35 मिनट में
खैर,
हमने एक गाने पे
but
बात की
then,
and we have probably said many more wrong things. So
हाँ. So let's continue and talk about the explosion of norminess और का गाना जो कि पिछली एक प्लेलिस्ट पे था तू है कहाँ which I thought title पढ़ के सिर्फ was a remake of the original तू है कहाँ the Pepsi song but it wasn't, it was very different and that had a new version released, in case you are unaware, which would be very surprising, had a new version released featuring famous One Directioner, then solo artist, then person who had a fight with his mother-in-law, Zayn Malik, and out of nowhere, I didn't know कि ये भी हो सकता है और ये हो रहा है ये whatever. No, we have no idea how this happened, but a lot happened with regards to this one song. पहली बात तो ये कि हमने बात की थी पिछली पिछली या उससे पिछली वाले में कि उमैर ने कहा कि मुझे ड्रेक के साथ काम करना है तो हमने कहा कि हाँ जी पॉसिबल है वो कनेक्शन मिल जाएगी 6 डिग्रीज भी नहीं होंगे ये भी नहीं होगा हमने कहा तो मे बी इट्स वन ऑफ देम टर्न्स आउट के अच्छा हाँ इसमें मेरी तारीफ भी तो होती है टर्न्स आउट के सोनी म्यूजिक these guys are probably signed to Sony Music because the song Sony Music I think put it together. Zen is also probably signed to Sony Music, and Zirak sent me the song and गाना थोड़ा मशहूर भी होने लगा. And then one of the websites that I read because I'm an uncle to have a daily rotation of websites जो कि मेरा अखबार है. तो one of them is Rolling Stone जिस पे अब मैं सिर्फ headlines पढ़ता हूँ because everything is paywalled. So, but at this time it wasn't paywalled. Ke Zayn Malik is back with a new song. Zayn Malik is a very famous global artist, obviously. और के नाम से नहीं आया. Back with a new song. मैंने click किया. Hindi, a song in Hindi with Pakistani band और मैंने कहा, ये कैसे हो सकता है? And ना मुझे और की परवाह, ना मुझे जैन मलिक की परवाह. मैंने कहा कि मैं आर्टिस्ट वो जो ऑथर हैं उनका मैंने नाम क्लिक किया फिर मैं उनकी वेबसाइट पे गया फिर मैंने उनको ट्वीट किया कि भाई ये गाना तो उर्दू में है ये हिंदी में नहीं है बिकॉज पहले भी आप लोग सोच चुके होंगे पसूड़ी गॉट वेरी फेमस प्रियंका चोपड़ा सेड साउथ एशियन आर्टिस्ट पाकिस्तानियों को आग लग गई तो मैंने कहा व्हाई नॉट हम भी so I told her it's in Urdu. If you're listening on audio, Zirak has muted his mic just so that I can get this over with. तो खैर she said कि she said कि the record label said that it is a song in Hindi which is surprising. सोनी को बताना चाहिए but फिर मैंने उनको भेजा clips of और डॉन से images से मैंने भेजा shout out images कि ये जैन मलिक के साथ पाकिस्तानी बैंड ने किया है and then another from Entertainment Weekly or something which said कि Zayn Malik releases an Urdu song from songs that he did on his own albums in the past. मैं कहा देखें जी, all of this put together means कि it has to be उर्दू और पाकिस्तान की ज़बान है ये। उन्होंने आर्टिकल बदल दिया, and Rolling Stone का article, and I think this is, as I've been telling people, the biggest victory for Pakistani culture online in 2024. I think ये मैंने जो किया है, despite not liking anybody. जी
आई
ज़ीरा,
लाइक
agree
हाउ
with
यू
me.
हैव टू एम्फसाइज कि मुझे तो ये लोग अच्छे भी नहीं लगते, फिर भी मैंने किया है।
उसूल है, उसूल की बात उसूल है। देखें आप, you can't only fight for people you like. What a guy.
नहीं,
मतलब
ये हिंदी उर्दू वाला तो इट्स जस्ट काइंड ऑफ डिप्रेसिंग।
yeah, yeah,
बट इस गाने का आई थिंक द रिव्यू दैट यू गिव व्हिच इज के अ लॉट हैपेंड इज करेक्ट, बिकॉज इट्स हार्ड टू एक्सप्लेन।
yeah,
इन फैक्ट मतलब पहले सिर्फ
yeah.
और पे आ जाते हैं। ये 3 लड़के हैं जो आई
हाँ,
थिंक सोलो काम भी करते हैं।
yeah, yeah, yeah.
दे आर ऑल रियली
अच्छा,
बिग, लाइक लाखों लिसनर्स हैं इनके सोलो भी, और खुद भी गाना निकालते हैं। एंड आई थिंक
अच्छा।
दिस इज ऑल 2023 इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग। Like I have been unable to trace their trajectories in a very direct way कि exactly हुआ कैसे,
हुँ,
और
हुँ,
पूरी listening कहाँ है
हुँ.
इंडिया में। So there is this recurring thing that happens
Okay.
is that someone from Pakistan blows up in India. Most
Yeah,
likely
9
this
million
is
monthly
हाँ,
listeners.
most likely this is through TikTok और Instagram। इंडिया में किसी
Hmm.
मशहूर आदमी
Reels,
ने
yeah.
इसको इस्तेमाल किया। दैट इज जैसे वो हमने अलीम वाला किया था विच आई थिंक वाज मोहम्मद शमी।
अलीम वाला
हाँ,
किया
तो
था.
इस तरह ही है।
Yeah.
और आप इनके देख के जाएँ टॉप सिटीज़ में तो सारी टॉप सिटीज़ इंडियन है, विच इज़ ऑल्सो व्हाई दिस
अच्छा.
फील्स लाइक अ ब्लाइंड स्पॉट फॉर पाकिस्तानी कल्चर। क्या आप पाकिस्तानी लोगों
Right,
से मिलेंगे,
right.
कभी-कभार नहीं पता होगा उन्हें, और फिर एकदम से देन
हाँ.
इट ब्लोज़ अप, वो इंडिया में जाता है, फिर वापस आता है, फिर डिस्कशन आ जाती है कि भाई इंडिया में हम बड़े हो गए, तब आपने हमें लिफ्ट कराई। In this case,
Yeah,
it happened so
yeah,
fast that I actually don't quite understand how they blew up in India so quickly.
yeah.
But my theory is that it's some TikTok trend, but we need to trace where it's
Yeah,
from.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then they get signed by Sony.
हाँ.
Sony is now in Pakistan. Obviously, they have been in India for a long time. तब सोनी काफ़ी लोगों को
Sure.
पाकिस्तान में साइन कर रहा है। आई थिंक दे जस्ट साइंड बयान, दे साइंड द हजी a little while ago. So
Right, right, right.
they obviously get involved. Then you get their marketing material or their marketing kind of infrastructure. तो मैं इंटरव्यू सुन रहा था इन और वाले बॉयज़ का, तो उन्होंने कहा कि हमें उन्होंने कहा कि अब आपका कोलैब होने वाला है। हमने कहा वाह! चलो अच्छा है, और फिर उन्होंने बताया किसके साथ होगा। सो दे डिडन्ट नो ईदर। द रिकॉर्ड लेबल वाज़ लाइक दिस इज़ हैपनिंग। So
Really?
the record label made it happen. I'm sure
हाँ.
Zayn also had some.
Because this is a thing that happened. Now that you
uh,
say this to me, it makes sense. कि this is a thing that happens. Record labels say कि हाँ जी, because for them it's a business, right? So they're doing that alchemy of, let's do a feature of this song, which is already a good song. Who could we get? Who could maximize that? So clearly it worked
and
because the
it
song
probably
exploded.
increases Zan's reach in India. So if Zan is about to, because
Yeah.
it seems that he's about to make a bigger comeback. So if he's about to release more
Right.
music, it
Yes.
makes sense
Yes.
to have him on like a hit Indian song in a kind of situation that fits. उसने वही अपनी स्टूडियो बैठे बैठे कर लिया. I don't even think they met as they did it. Like it,
Yeah. No, I
हाँ,
don't think so.
so and
Yeah.
वो video में उनको उन्होंने
Yeah.
insert कर दिया. They did another version of the song that also blew up. And then obviously because Zayn
Yeah.
Malik was involved and Sony was involved, it was big in India already. Made
Rolling
it made
Stone.
the news. It made
Yeah.
Rolling Stone. Like it's amazing. Like just from a
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
all happened so fast and it's so big. मतलब it's hard to explain how big this is. Um,
Yeah.
so it's just kind of amazing. Like मुझे बस यही दुख होता है कि there are so many Pakistani artists whose entire audience is in India और वो कुछ नहीं कर सकते.
Yeah.
It's just really sad.
Yeah.
To,
Yeah. I mean, कुछ नहीं कर सकते, but in the sense कि that audience in India clearly is not going unnoticed. Because अगर और कभी तो यही है ना, I'm sure they never performed in India, वो कभी गए भी नहीं होंगे. But if we're saying that the vector is reels पे मशहूर हो जाना, because TikTok तो है नहीं इंडिया पे, uh, and that being good enough कि Sony recognized, खैर maybe Sony was already coming up with said कि हाँ जी we can see कि they have an established base, तो इसका मतलब बाकियों को भी हो सकता है, which is great because it's like वो वाली बात है ना कि technology is allowing you to find your audience, and that audience is considered valid enough for people from there to take an interest in you across the border, make it work through a local subsidiary, whatever, um, because you're good enough to make economic sense. So A hopeful story, I feel.
Yeah, the incentives are very much
Yeah.
that if you have an audience outside of Pakistan, find a way to go international as quickly as possible, which either means
Yeah.
move to Dubai or build a base in Dubai. Get a
Or
get a
visit
bank
Dubai.
account somewhere,
Huh.
or it means get an
Yeah.
international record label, or it means find international
Yeah.
collaborators, or it means get
Yeah.
immigration elsewhere. Because living somewhere else
Yeah.
makes this job much easier, even if you want to be a Pakistani artist. Because if you want to work with anyone
Hmm.
international, the sheer economics of it make it impossible to operate from Pakistan.
ये है
यानी ये कि आपको पैसे
ये
मिलेंगे
है
कैसे,
हाँ.
आप लाएंगे कैसे, आपने किसी का
Yeah.
गाना मिक्स करना है, आप प्रोड्यूसर हैं, आपको पैसे कैसे आएंगे, आ ही नहीं सकते. यू नीड टू वो ये पेपैल वाला सारा मसला जो उमर सैफ के साथ रेज होता है, उसकी वजह यही है. बिकॉज देयर नीड्स टू बी एन इजी वे टू रिसीव पेमेंट्स, एंड रिसीविंग पेमेंट्स इन पाकिस्तान इज अ नाइटमेयर.
Which is such a counterintuitive thing because you would understand perhaps why sending payments from Pakistan would be something that is restrictive, but receiving isn't that what the country would want? But
The
that,
country wants it. There's a
huh?
number of other issues. FATF really messed things up. So now sending money to Pakistan
Acha,
triggers a
yeah.
ton of flags that are really
Yes, I
difficult.
always get those.
And then sending money to
Yeah, yeah,
Pakistan for businesses is even harder. Like individuals, ko tabhi remittance infrastructure kafi hai na? You have all these apps that let you send money
yeah,
to an
yeah,
individual for
yeah,
kind of family related things. But if you want to send it to a
yeah,
business, that is even more difficult. And then the way that
yeah.
the guidelines are published in terms of कि Pakistan में आपको क्या IDs चाहिए internationally to be able to identify an account, like that documentation is off. यानी आप उनको कहेंगे कि मुझे
Banking documentation तो पाकिस्तान में overall वैसे भी off
right,
है.
and so आपको
Even
आप
standard
वायर कर रहे
banking.
हैं, वायर करते हुए depending on the bank that you're sending it to, they will ask you for a different set of information. They might ask you for an address, they might ask you for a name, they might ask you
Yeah.
for आपका NTN नंबर क्या है. और हो सकता है कि एक्चुअली
Hmm.
कह वो कुछ रहे हों, नंबर उनको कुछ और चाहिए हो. लाइक हो सकता है कि चाहिए उनको
Yeah.
एनआईसी नंबर हुआ
Yeah.
होगा. बट द
Yeah.
काइंड ऑफ all of these things exist, but the logic of figuring out कि actually कहाँ पे करना है is not published anywhere. And so because nobody tests these
Yeah.
systems, like announce तो हो जाता है but test कभी नहीं होता. That makes it really hard. So for example, ये जो PTA वाला इनका system है कि आप tax दे सकते हैं. Like
Hmm.
forget 1 second whether or not you agree with the taxation system or not, but just the act of paying for the system like is just so difficult. It's because there's so many
Yeah.
holes in the overall policy and in the infrastructure कि वो मुश्किल हो जाता है. So if you want to make a kind of economic decision, it really makes sense to have some sort of international base. और ये और जैसे लोगों के लिए जिनकी audience ही primarily
Yeah.
international है, उनके लिए तो it
Yeah.
just makes no sense to be confined to just a purely
होना ये है कि इनको ना इनके घर कोई आ जाएंगे प्लेन क्लोथ्स टाइप पीपल कहेंगे कि हाँ जी आप तो बड़े पैसे कमा रहे हैं बाहर से आप जरा टैक्स का तो बताएं अपने वो पैसे आए हो सकता है पैसे ना आए उनके पास उनको पैसे आने का कोई मैकेनिज्म भी ना हो बट ये हो सकता है उनके खैर नॉट होपिंग दैट हैपेंस इमीडिएटली वी आर एंटरिंग इनटू चालान कंस्पिरेसी जोन्स लेकिन yeah that I think that would make sense because this has always been a valid cultural output from Pakistan. Music, jo hai, music, and now obviously things like YouTube, etc. And uh, it's increasing as we've spoken about. The output is increasing at such a fast pace that it is only getting more and more legitimate by the day. Ki, haan ji, this is a valid industry, so to speak, or a revenue generating thing. So, yeah, on the basis of this alone, और वालों को जाना चाहिए गए हुआ था प्राइम मिनिस्टर से बात करने लेकिन who is that तो इलेक्शन के बाद
The other interesting thing is like you
दो-
look at okay what other vectors can Pakistani artists use, like where other places can they go. एक तो simple सी बात है ना, इंडिया जा सकते हैं, diaspora जा सकते हैं, but then you see all other shared languages. उर्दू हिंदी को हटा के पंजाबी आपने करनी कहाँ है,
yeah
इंडिया में. आपने बलूची
इंडिया में
बोलनी कहाँ है, ईरान में.
everything is India
आपने पश्तो म्यूजिक करनी है वो
well
कहाँ है, अफगानिस्तान में. सिंधी म्यूजिक कहाँ है, इंडिया
अफगानिस्तान
में.
में
सो there are all these other
hmm.
markets that would be natural fits, like जो बलोच musicians कराची में गा रहे हैं, उनकी एक है बलोच population, probably ईरान में जो.
Do you mean to go as in to perform live
No, I
yeah
mean as
just where their music could
addressable
be heard
market, right?
right
Like
acha
their addressable markets are all in inaccessible areas, which I find really tragic.
sure huh. Inaccessible because of political
Right.
issues or safety
Yeah.
security all of that goes together huh yeah um which really makes Dubai is such a great uh, place for all of these people potentially. Dubai is limited by the population, where I mean UAE की अपनी population तो खासी है, but compared to India, Pakistan, Iran, it's nothing. Where you're comparing hundreds of millions or even billions to like 10-12 million. कितने लोग आ जाएंगे आपको सुनने, लेकिन वहाँ हर कोई आ सकता है.
Especially the
तो if
people that
you
have the ability to pay. Like once you get to Dubai, then you
yes,
have the economic power to actually be useful customers for people selling stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. हाँ,
Hmm.
खैर, I'm sure people have thought about this. I'm just wondering,
But
ये बैंक अकाउंट सेटअप करने वाली बात etc. It's quite possible, and Dubai does have some recent updates on this,
अब ये कोविड के बाद
where
और
you
भी
don't
ज़्यादा
have to
हुए हैं
live in
where they
Dubai.
have these like visa programs
The
everywhere in the
remote
world.
working stuff,
Yeah, from
yeah,
lots of other
yeah,
countries. So you have to find kind of these outs. But this is I like telling the story because it is um, illustrative of the larger problem affecting young people in Pakistan. Okay,
yeah. Both illustrative of the larger problem, and then also optimistic in the sense that there is a larger, perhaps future possible. अगर larger problem आपका हल हो जाए, um, you know,
I mean K-pop
you,
is big enough that the Korean
हाँ,
government
हाँ.
considers it a serious output, as far as I'm aware.
For decades now. हाँ, हाँ,
So
it's part of their proper एक ministry का वो responsibility है,
India looks at
which
Bollywood
has its own.
similarly. So
Yeah,
we have a
yeah,
significant amount of cultural output as well. But लेकिन अभी तक हमने
हाँ.
ज़्यादा serious नहीं लिया.
Yeah, वो independently चल रहा है, which it doesn't have to be, if you really want to push it, because as a collective you can do so much more. But खैर, एक और गाना भी था. आप बताएं, how do you feel about all of these people who have listened and followed to all of our thoughts so far? क्या करना था हमने? I put some more comments. Just want to see. Wehshi, I think I also wanted to talk about. I liked Wehshi. Um, and yes, उसमें I saw my comment. Laid back Harami vibes. Wehshi. ठीक है जी, you can use that on your album cover. Um, Wehshi really was in my mind, what it proved was कि अमेरिका में, what I said to you, कि regions have different hip hop styles ना, which they cling on to बहुत जोर से, like Atlanta का अपना है, New York, East Coast, West Coast, all of that. और उसमें भी शहरों के अंदर, मोहल्लों के अंदर अपने अपने. Pakistan obviously does not have native hip hop in the way कि हमारे पास तो import हुआ है ना, the whole genre of music, and then we've made it our own.
कौन सा genre
But
कहाँ
just based
import
off,
नहीं हुआ? ये
हाँ हाँ, but hip hop बना तो अमेरिका में है ना, तो that's what we did was, हमारे यहाँ कैसे आया? People like different people, and they said कि हाँ जी हम ऐसे करेंगे. So it was unusual. I think Pakistan अब ये बन जाएगा. We're seeing it now, where there is a Karachi sound, right? The issues music, as I call it, and all the fun songs come from Lahore, mostly, in my generalizing view. uh रोजियो के गाने, मानू के गाने, ये वैशी, right? And I was wondering, okay, how long do we have to wait? But I think we might already be there, where we start to say कि हाँ जी, this is the Lahore hip hop sound, this is the Karachi hip hop sound, this is the Islamabad sound, the Pindi sound. um that's where I was going with that.
I think we're already
Do you
there.
feel, do we
Yeah,
have?
I think we're already there.
Huh,
I
huh,
divide
huh.
rap into lyrical rap and pop rap.
Sure.
Meaning pop rap is like rap songs that you can hum, where there's mostly repeated verses and so forth. Or the lyrical rap is like it doesn't really matter what the sound is; it's just the words matter much
Huh.
more. Lyrical rap
Yeah.
happens to be more concentrated in Karachi, and the pop rap happens to be concentrated more in Lahore. Not that it doesn't happen, both genres happen in
Yeah.
both
There's
cities,
also Faris.
but by and large the pop rap tends to be concentrated in Lahore, and the pop rap songs are the more fun songs usually.
There's more music, there's more beat, there's more, other things. It's not as intentionally stripped back
hmm.
as perhaps many songs from
I
Karachi
don't know
are.
if you qualify Hasan Raheem as pop rap or not. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. He's kind of he straddles the line between singing
Hasan
and
Raheem
pop
to I
rapping.
don't even. हाँ, उसको तो मैं, I wouldn't say he's that weird thing that Drake has become, where Drake was fully hip hop and rapper, or a maybe majority of his songs are, but the hit songs often have almost no rap in them. लेकिन है वो। तो हसन रहीम इज लाइक द ऑपोजिट ऑफ दैट आई फील, ही इज लाइक अ फुल पॉप आर्टिस्ट, बट इतना उन्होंने हिप हॉप एडजेसेंट काम कर लिया है कि नाउ ही इज स्टार्टिंग टू ब्लर दैट लाइन।
बहुत मेरी ज़िंदगी बहुत मुश्किल
ग्रेट
करते हैं ये
हसन
लोग।
रहीम।
टावर्स वाले मतलब अच्छा भला इलेक्ट्रो पॉप थे, अब रैप
Yeah,
इट्स
yes.
इट्स
Towers
ऑल
तो I thought was like हाँ almost a form of rock band.
हाँ, तो अब वो
And फिर
फुल
वो
रैप हो गए
कुछ
हैं।
और ही हो
हाँ,
गया।
तो मैं अपनी
Yeah.
जॉनर टैगिंग जब करता हूँ, मेरे को गए, कोई फ़ायदा नहीं, मैं छोड़ दी अब करनी।
Yeah.
So yeah,
Multi hyphenate.
multi-hyphenate. I think you're right. To answer your question, is there Lahore sound versus the Karachi sound? I think so. And I think within that also
Yeah.
there are subgenres. Again, it's easy to forget how big
Yes.
these cities are. तो 12-15
Yeah,
मिलियन
yeah,
के
yeah.
शहर में 2-3 और सब genre हो सकते हैं. I think that makes sense. And so
हाँ.
eventually we'll probably have to find more descriptive ways of defining the genre. Like हो सकता है कि गुलबर्ग genre हो, जैसे कराची में एक लियारी genre है, और
That would be great.
हाँ, um,
हाँ.
तो अब वो लियारी वाला तो अलग है, लाइक वो लियारी रैपर्स आर नोन एज
लियारी का तो है.
लियारी
Yes,
रैपर्स।
yes,
सो
yes.
कराची का जो बाकी है उसको हम कराची
हाँ.
कह देते हैं, बट देयर इज प्रॉब्ली मोर फाइन ट्यून्ड वेज ऑफ
Yeah.
describing it. Geography is
Yeah.
one way of doing it. We could probably do it other ways as well. But I
Hmm.
think कि है एक different, और ये एहसन जो है इस गाने में, he has a really
Hmm.
distinctive
Hmm.
sound.
Yeah.
वो उसका गाना है
Yes.
GT
Yes.
Road, which I think is really good. Um,
Right. Okay.
दैट्स रियली फन। और सलोर के भी अपनी एक बिल्कुल डिफरेंट किस्म की पंजाबी
हाँ.
साउंड है,
हाँ.
लाइक इट्स
हाँ. हाँ.
पंजाबी बट
Yes.
इट्स वेरी नॉट in your face, but it's kind of subtle and soft.
Okay.
He's like a kind of softer
Okay.
rapper. I don't think he's a full
Yes.
aggro
Yes. Yes.
rapper.
Laid
हाँ,
back Harami vibes. हाँ.
खत्म हो गई, आगे कहने की जरूरत ही क्या है? I think you have reviewed the song in 4 words. Well done.
Yeah. हाँ. टी-शर्ट बनाना LBHV.
वो लोग समझेंगे कोई
But
कोई
it's
नया
great.
ब्रांड
ये
है,
भी
ये
मैंने
एक्चुअली आप नया ब्रांड बनाए LBHV।
हाँ. This is my extremely soft launch. इसको भी मैंने I attacked the normie car gang with this song. ये उनको पसंद आया
Interesting.
क्योंकि I think हाँ, क्योंकि again both of them Shamoon fans. Shamoon also has very laid back vibes, not often as Harami, but sometimes. So I think this really fit that groove sort of thing. Much more perhaps wordy and hip hoppy than the regular Shamoon music.
आई एम वेरी इंट्रीग्ड बाय
But
कि जो
हाँ
लोग
उनको पसंद आया.
नहीं सुनते पाकिस्तानी म्यूजिक नई वाली, या जिनको नहीं पता, and this is easy to find in our circles because there's diaspora people that in the last 4 years just didn't
Yes,
follow, and now
yes.
suddenly the whole world has
हाँ,
changed on them. तो उनको एक
yeah,
ना क्रैश कोर्स देना
yeah,
पड़ता है. So I'm always interested in seeing what
yes.
music works well crash course wise. Juna works really well. Hasan Raheem's.
Right, right,
That works really well. Have you
right.
found other songs that work well? Like we know Aleem does not work well.
Ali, Aleem is an acquired taste. You have to be really into hip hop and not dislike Karachi. If you dislike Karachi, फिर आ गए ये लोग.
मानू के 2-3 गाने
Annural,
चलते हैं.
Annural
Annural really
works.
works really well.
हाँ, Annural
Mm.
has very wide appeal. Because and she also has done like बहुत सारे अलग अलग type के गाने, like lots of OST type
She has
music,
crazy
hip hop
range.
adjacent,
हाँ.
pop type. Yes, yes.
Manu ka Melancholic
Annural
works really
works
well.
well.
For You works really well.
Manu ka Melancholic is very approachable. Yes, yes. Young stunners have become undeniable to the point where even if you don't like hip hop, आपने उनको शायद कुक स्टूडियो पे देख लिया, आपने उनको कहीं ना कहीं देख लिया आपने. You're like अच्छा हाँ भाई ये भी एक चीज़ है. मैं शायद बेशक खुद मुझे हिप हॉप ना पसंद हो, but yeah. तो हाँ, I forgot what we were talking
We're
about.
talking about songs that work really
People
well when
हाँ,
introducing them.
yeah,
Other things that work
yeah,
really well,
yeah, yeah.
Tahaji के जो सही पॉप वाले गाने, दिल के इशारे.
To younger people maybe. I feel Tahaji has a very young person sound, and I consider
Compliment to Tahaji.
me, मेरी उम्र के लोग not young. हाँ, तो like you have to be like mid-30s or below. और मैं अब mid-30s and above में आ गया हूँ ना.
आप
तो
you have 24 to 36 से आगे निकल गए हैं आप.
हाँ, हाँ, I'm at the very end of that of being able to select that option. तो ताहाजी नहीं, लेकिन ताहाजी हाँ, क्योंकि ताहाजी की साउंड इज़ वेरी मॉडर्न रेट्रो वाली जो वेस्टर्न उसमें भी चल रही है. एंड ही इज बिग इनफ एंड हैज अ बिग इनफ लाइब्रेरी. बट आई थिंक ये होंगे बिग बिग नेम्स. वेयर आर ये कराक्रम वाले कहाँ हैं?
लाहौर.
नो आई नो. वो
मतलब
खामोशी है बहुत टाइम से.
लाइफ में कहाँ है? अच्छा. ये नहीं मुझे पता।
Yeah, I was wondering because बाकी बहुत से लोगों के गाने आ रहे हैं, but because they also have a recognizable sound. If you're into music, Pakistani rock music in the early 2000s, their sound can be connected to that, but it's like just much cleaner production and all of that. But मैं जब ये सोच रहा था मुझे ख्याल आया कि बहुत अरसे से हमने नहीं सुना इनका.
अली ने कहा
Maybe since the
आजकल रॉक
camping.
म्यूजिक नहीं निकल रहा, मुझे चाहिए वो पुराना।
हाँ. The exact opposite thing that Shami wrote about. All music today, yaar, it's just
वो
not
बात नहीं
rock.
रही जो उस वक्त होती
वो
थी, और
बात नहीं
हमारे
रही
जमाने वाले
यार.
जो गाने थे ना
हाँ.
वो बेस्ट थे।
Nobody plays instruments anymore. Yeah. Khair. There's this guy on YouTube by the name of Rick Beato. This older guy, you might have seen him. White hair, studio बैठा होता है, very guitar rock type person. So what he has discovered is a good thing to do. YouTube पे थोड़ा सनसनीखेज चीजें हैं और थोड़ी controversial चीजें चलती हैं ना, तो वो क्या करते हैं कि उन्होंने प्रैक्टिस बना ली हर 4 महीने बाद Spotify की ग्लोबल टॉप 10 जो प्लेलिस्ट है ना, ग्लोबल हिट्स की जो प्लेलिस्ट है उसमें टॉप 10 वो उठाते हैं और सुनते हैं गाने, एंड जस्ट म्यूजिक अबाउट देम थोड़ा सा. तो अक्सर ये होता है कि ये तो सब बकवास, सब शिट, कोई मतलब कोई ना प्रोडक्शन है ना कुछ है ना ये है ना वो है, एंड दैट्स ऑफन द सॉन्ग्स दैट आर रियली, बिकॉज टिकटॉक हैज अ बिग पाइपलाइन इनटू इट. लेकिन कभी कभार ये होता है कि यार अभी जैसे लेटेस्ट जो एक एपिसोड आई है, ही हिमसेल्फ इज शॉक्ड के और यार 10 गाने 10 के 10 सुन सकते हैं, समथिंग इंटरेस्टिंग, none of them are rock, but yeah. And what I've also noticed is there are there is the hip hop adjacent music or full acoustic soft गाने.
अनुज जैन,
दो, yes, yes, extremes.
अनुज जैन इज
बच्चों की जनरेशन
ह्यूज।
में.
मैं कभी पढ़ना यूट्यूब टॉप ट्रेंडिंग में
अच्छा.
जाता हूँ, पाकिस्तान के टॉप ट्रेंडिंग म्यूजिक ना, अनुज जैन ह्यूज।
हाँ.
बेसिकली हर रील में तो आ जाते हैं वो, कोई सैड रील
Yeah,
हो उसमें अनुज जैन आ
yeah,
जाते हैं।
yeah, yeah,
बट
yeah,
देन द अदर थिंग दैट आई
yeah.
फाउंड फ्रॉम दिस इज दैट आरिफ लोहार सॉन्ग, हैव यू हर्ड इट?
I heard this Arif Lohar song. I played that also yesterday. Huh? Everyone, I think, was shocked because they weren't
जस्ट
expecting an
बिकॉज
Arif Lohar
आरिफ
song.
लोहार इज सिंगिंग अ हुक ऑन अ रैप सॉन्ग, और ये रैप सॉन्ग इस तरह है कि उसमें सफ़ेद कन्वर्टेबल है, सफ़ेद कन्वर्टेबल पे सफ़ेद सांप चल रहा है।
अच्छा, मैंने वीडियो नहीं देखी
हाँ,
है. अच्छा
मतलब
अच्छा.
इट्स जस्ट इट्स कैनोनिकल, ठीक है? और उसमें सारे वो
अच्छा अच्छा
ट्रोप्स
अच्छा
हैं जो
अच्छा.
इमरान खान के गानों से लेके अब तक वो सब हैं इसके अंदर।
Yes.
तो बट आरिफ लोहार इज़
Right.
लाइक गोइंग फुल, ही इज़ लाइक आई एम सिंगिंग अ हुक टू दिस सॉन्ग, आई एम रियली सिंगिंग अ हुक टू दिस सॉन्ग। तो
He fully Arif
हाँ,
Lohar's it.
और मतलब ये कि
Like he's also
आ
like
तुझे
Jawad
लंदन
Bashir.
फिरावां, आ तुझे चिप्स खिलावां,
हाँ.
मतलब इट्स जस्ट द थिंग्स दैट ही यूजेस टू इंडिकेट हिज इंटरेस्ट इन द पर्सन दैट ही इज सिंगिंग टू, मतलब लंदन फिरावां से चिप्स खवावां, टू मी दैट इज
Bro, Pakistani लड़की को chips खिला दो. This you will be like 80-90% in good books. Chips are a big deal in Pakistan. So Arif Lohar has his thumri on the pulse. Uh,
और उसका
he
गाने का
has
नाम है
his
आ, एंड लाइक दैट्स द बेसिकली द
ah.
थिंग दैट आरिफ लोहार इज डूइंग, बिकॉज़ इट्स लाइक
Is
आ
it
तेनू
2 or
लंदन
3
फिरावां इज 2
A's?
A's. um
Yeah.
3 A's would have looked like an error,
It's
but it's
I scream
I
almost.
appreciate this romanization. हाँ, आ would have become कि
Yeah.
मतलब कुछ दर्द हो रहा है, but this is yes आ, please ISR, you know. um
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
what a
An
song,
invitation.
so good.
Yeah, yeah. He. Like, I was gonna say, like Jawad Bashir, he is somebody who is incapable of half-assing it. He always full-asses everything he does, which is his entire, brings his whole personality
Like
to it.
his PSL anthem
Very interesting.
entrance, amazing, epic,
I
so epic.
Arif Lohar is a Pakistan का proper rock star है वो,
uh,
without ever being a rock musician. But
मतलब
वो
अली अजमत level of अली अजमत at
हाँ,
peak level
Ali
of
Azmat, yes, जुनून.
हाँ,
हाँ, अली अजमल would say bigger. आरिफ लोहार का तो बहुत बहुत वाइड अपील है भाई. Yeah, definite Pakistani legend. And apart from this, one of the songs Sarkhel had sent, Chum Chum, uh, already on the playlist. तो ठीक है जी, Sarkhel,
I love
congrats
when
to you.
Sarkhel sends me
आपकी
stuff
सुन.
that is already on, because I'm like, yes, I'm with the pulse. Because
Yeah.
Sarkhel occasionally finds
Youngs को
hipper
भी
things
हाँ.
than me. तो जब कभी मुझे कोई Sarkhel की
Yeah,
चीज भेजे, I'm like, yes.
yeah. और कुछ गाने होते हैं वो भेजता, मैंने कहा यार Sarkhel तुमने गाड़ी में सुना था? कहना हाँ यार. मैंने कहा ठीक है, वो makes sense over there. Because मैं गाड़ी में नहीं बैठा, मुझे नहीं पसंद आ रहा. But Chum Chum is a good song. Annural के I'm always fans.
The new Hasan Raheem
You
song is
want to
good.
talk about?
Hangama is really good.
Surprised to hear it again. I don't know. Like, I guess we're never in a lull period for these
For
people. There's always a
Hasan
song
Raheem,
that could come
Hasan
on
Raheem के दो
anytime.
गाने हैं इस प्लेलिस्ट पे भाई. एक हनान के साथ गाना है
हाँ
और एक ये
हाँ, एक feat
हाँ
as I call
और
it.
एक ये हंगामा. Hangama is very good. It's genuinely like one of his songs
Yes,
that I like uh,
yes.
above average.
हाँ. And JJ, you have 2 songs from JJ.
JJ की एल्बम
JJ
है
and Joke.
तो JJ की
Bro.
एल्बम में 3-4 गाने थे. Did you say wow? Because that's what JJ does.
Bro.
Bro. Because JJ's sonic
अच्छा.
signature is that in the middle of a song he'll go wow. Which I think is just, it's so different. I kind of enjoy
Everyone
it.
should do that. हाँ. अच्छा. JJ की भी एल्बम आ गई, जानी की भी आ गई, जोखे की भी आ गई.
जोखे की भी आ गई.
Does Joke have a recent
Mhm.
album in 23? Taranjum has it. Young Stunners की नहीं आई.
हाँ उनके
Do
नहीं
Young,
है.
Young Stunners also have an album?
बहुत
नहीं.
एल्बम है उनकी लेकिन पुरानी.
23 में नहीं.
2023 में नहीं. उनकी पुरानी है सारी. मतलब वो 2013,
Yeah.
2015, 2016.
But like all the big Karachi players have albums out.
सबके
in
एल्बम में हम
23.
एक लिस्ट बनाई है लैला और मैंने of just like all the album releases we can find in 2023. It's in the, I think, dozens if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
So I'll send this list out.
Yeah. बनाओ उसको वो बना दो ना. Like make it a post. The year of the album. The year albums came back. Something.
हाँ उसको full clickbait करें.
हाँ. Chips खिलावा भाई. That's the energy we need to bring for
Chips
everything.
खिलावा. Oh, it's too good.
Yeah.
Like I heard it and I was like 100% this is on the playlist. मुझे और कुछ मुझे सोचने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है.
And the सोचने की ज़रूरत से याद आया the Azan Sami Khan baby. When I heard it, I felt ये personally मुझे antagonize करने के लिए डाला गया.
You didn't like it?
We are usually positive on this podcast, so I will say can.
Who are we kidding?
Well, yeah, I don't know. There's always this thing where a pop star, a legacy pop star, and I will consider Azan Khan a legacy pop star. He's not one of the newer people, even though he's new to the scene. एक उनका आता है fun song, right? Where they don't do fun गाने generally, but एक fun song आता है कि हाँ जी, कि उसमें mischievous, cute ये वो, and I'm like no.
ये है एल्बम का फन सॉन्ग क्योंकि बाकी सारा जो है वो है थोड़ा ड्रामा OST स्टाइल. Like it's much more, the rest of the album is much more standard desi pop.
Yeah.
This was his more modern thing, which is why it stood out enough to me. I was like, okay, there needs to be some representation from this album. I also enjoy it. It's like good.
This is your Instagram post. This should be represented.
शैतान आपको सुनने से रोकेगा.
Yeah. But खैर हाँ ठीक है. I mean चलो बहुत सारे गानों में से ये भी था. But yeah, his other songs are, I feel, more हाँ जी बिल्कुल मेरे भी वो है ना कि I have an image of a person and how dare they behave outside of this image. So when he did his previous songs which are very OST, I'm like हाँ जी बिल्कुल.
तो अली सेठी जब फारिश शफीक गाने में आया था तब तो आपको बहुत गुस्सा चढ़ा होगा.
Yeah. वो तो नहीं, अली सेठी का मसला मल्टी हाइफेनेट. तो अली सेठी इज डिसाइडेडली मॉडर्न.
अच्छा तो वो जो मर्जी कर ले.
तो वो कहीं भी फिट हो जाएंगे. एंड देन आई विल बी लाइक अच्छा चलो
कल अंजुम ने रॉक गाना गाया कोई तो आपको आप वहीं पे कैंसिल कर
वो मसला होगा. I was like ये क्या हुआ. हाँ unless it is
उमर ने अकॉस्टिक एल्बम निकाल दी तो
that would be.
लेकिन मानू को सब अलाउ है.
I wonder. हाँ मानू को तो सब अलाउ है. क्या करें मानू. Yeah. खैर anything else from the album that we might not have covered? Okay.
I think we are good.
I think overall Pakistani music continues to be strong, interesting. Always something keeps coming up.
हमारा our declaration TPR pod declares Pakistani music is still alive.
The state of the union is strong. और ठीक है जी. See you next week, next month.
अब आप जाएं.
Whenever we manage to put this together.